The morning my HOA told me I couldn't keep animals was the day they made their biggest mistake. I still remember Karen, the HOA president, standing in my driveway, sunglasses glinting, holding a clipboard like she was a sheriff of the suburbs. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Either the animals go, or you do." All I had were 2 rescue goats, a few chickens, and my old golden retriever, Max. They weren't hurting anyone. My backyard was fenced, clean, and quiet compared to the weekend parties Karen's son threw. But the HOA saw it differently. They called my pets livestock and claimed they violated community rules. At first, I tried to reason with them. I showed vet records, health reports, even offered free eggs to my neighbors. Some smiled politely. Others, like Karen, saw it as a challenge to her control. Within a week, I received 3 violation letters and a fine that nearly equaled my mortgage payment. When I asked for a hearing, Karen smirked and said, "You can't turn this neighborhood into a farm." That night, I sat on my porch staring at the stars, my goats huddled beside me. I wasn't angry, not yet, but something in me clicked. If they didn't want animals here, fine. I'd take my animals somewhere they couldn't touch me. And I'd make sure they regretted every fine, every threat, every smug smile. So I did what no one expected. I sold a few investments, called a realtor, and within weeks, I found a small plot of land, 5 acres, right next to the HOA boundary. It wasn't fancy, but it was free land, non-HOA, and perfect for what I had in mind. The moment the deal closed, I stood on that dirt, took a deep breath, and smiled. My next move? Something wild, something poetic, something that would turn their complaints into ticket sales. They thought they could silence me. They had no idea they just inspired my biggest idea yet. The first morning on my new land felt like freedom. No HOA rules, no Karen with her clipboard, just open fields, morning dew, and the sound of my goats bleating like they knew this was home. But freedom wasn't enough. I wanted justice, poetic justice. Every letter they sent, every threat they made, deserved a response. And that response came to me one night as I looked at my goats, chickens, and my old golden retriever, Max, a petting zoo. Not just for fun, for business. If they thought my animals were a nuisance, I'd turn that nuisance into a profitable attraction right next door to their perfect, rule-filled neighborhood. I started small. A few wooden fences, a small barn I built myself with the help of a friend who owed me a favor. Then came the signage. Sunny Acres Petting Zoo. Family fun next to Willow Creek HOA. I placed that sign where every HOA resident could see it from their walking path. The irony was delicious. Within a week, families from all over town started visiting. Kids laughed as they fed the goats. Parents took photos beside my hand-painted barn. I charged a small entrance fee, but the real victory wasn't the money. It was watching HOA members drive past with looks of pure disbelief. And then, the complaints began again. Karen marched right up to my gate one Saturday morning. "Do you have permits for this?" she hissed. I smiled. "This land isn't under your jurisdiction. Karen, you might want to check your map." She turned red. "You're ruining property values!" I shrugged. Funny. Attendance has tripled since I opened. Maybe I'm raising them. Word spread fast. My little petting zoo became the talk of the town. Local schools booked field trips. A nearby cafe partnered with me to sell snacks to visitors. Even the mayor's office mentioned my zoo on their community page. The HOA, meanwhile, fumed silently behind their rules and fences. They could do nothing but watch as the families they once tried to protect started parking along their streets just to visit my animals. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Because the next phase of my plan would make the HOA pay. Literally, to enjoy the land they once tried to keep me away from. They had no idea what was coming next. The weekend crowds changed everything. Streets that used to be empty on Saturdays now held cars with diaper bags and folding chairs. Kids from the HOA sprinted toward my gate, pockets full of carrots they'd begged their parents for. Neighbors who once judged from behind curtains now waved, faces softening when a goat nudged a toddler's hand. Even Karen's posture shifted, less sheriff, more spectator. Then the unexpected happened. The HOA board requested a formal meeting. I expected threats. Instead, they wanted access. "Our residents deserve nearby family activities," their representative said, in a tone that tried to sound neutral. I listened, then made an offer that felt like justice dressed as business. Annual memberships for HOA families, private evening sessions, and a community use fee to cover maintenance and improvements. Karen's stopgap suggestions, volunteer, days, and community collaboration fell flat when the board realized residents were already coming in droves. They voted to approve my membership plan. I set reasonable fees. A small $25 annual pass for HOA households, plus modest event packages. I drew up a clean contract, liability waivers, and receipts. everything above board, so there'd be no loopholes for their lawyers to exploit. Checks started arriving. I deposited the first one and used the funds where it mattered. New fencing, better animal shelters, fresh signage, and a tiny snack stand run by a local mom. The upgrades improved visitor experience and made the place look official. Ironic. Proof that my nuisance had become an asset. The community newsletter ran a photo spread. Karen, stiff smile, petting my Angora rabbit by the sunflower beds. Her pride was mixed with defeat. Some residents muttered about parking, but most were delighted. Real estate agents even began mentioning close to family attractions in listing notes. The very argument the HOA used to scare me, property values, flipped on its head. I made sure to protect the animals and keep standards high. Anyone who bought a membership received a code of conduct. No yelling at animals, no unauthorized feeding, and respect for the farm's quiet hours. I enforced the rules politely but firmly. This was not about spite. It was about stewardship. A few hardliners refused to join and continued to grumble, but they were fewer than before. The calls for fines and hearings dried up. Instead, gentle waves and occasional bakery donations showed up at my gate. Revenge had been satisfying, but the real victory was community, unexpected and warming. Yet beneath the smiles, the seeds of the last twist were already planted. I had one final move that would change the HOA's leadership forever, and it would make a good neighborhood storybook. By the time spring rolled around, Sunny Acres Petting Zoo had become a local favorite. Families lined up every weekend, birthday parties filled the calendar, and even small-town influencers filmed videos with my goats and ducks. The HOA, once my loudest critic, now listed walking distance to Sunny Acres as a selling point in their home brochures. But deep down, I knew one last thing was left undone. Justice hadn't fully settled. Karen still strutted around like she was untouchable. She'd smile at me through clenched teeth during her inspection walks, pretending to support the zoo while secretly sending petty complaints to county officials. Noise, parking, animal smell. She tried every angle, but every time the inspectors walked away impressed. I had every permit, every health certificate, every safety inspection in perfect order. Still, Karen couldn't stand the fact that people liked me, that my little farm had brought more happiness in a few months than the HOA had in years. So she did what Karens do best, overreach. She tried to propose a new HOA project, an official HOA family park to compete with my zoo. The problem? The HOA didn't own any suitable land. But guess who did? Me. See, months ago when I bought the 5-acre lot, I quietly purchased an extra acre that bordered their community park. That piece of land held the only access road wide enough for their proposed park entrance. Without my permission, their plan was dead. At the next HOA board meeting, Karen proudly presented her park proposal, until I raised my hand and calmly said, "I own that road, but I'd be happy to lease it, at a fair price." The room went silent. The same board that once fined me for keeping chickens now voted to pay me monthly access fees just to keep their park plan alive. Karen's face turned the color of a stop sign. Over time, she quietly stepped down from her role as HOA president. Officially, it was for personal reasons. Unofficially, everyone knew she couldn't handle watching me win. Now, every weekend, I watch families from that same HOA laugh, play and feed my goats. Some of them even volunteer at the petting zoo. Kids grow up with memories built on land their parents once tried to push me off of. As for me, I don't hold grudges. I just smile, wave, and remind them when they pay for their memberships. Thanks for supporting local farming, because in the end, the best revenge isn't anger. It's success so undeniable that even your enemies have to buy a ticket to see it. What would you have done in my place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more crazy Karen stories every week.